What's up, everyone? It's August 29th. Welcome back. The boys are here. We took the summer off, but we are live at the Palace of Chris. Chris, how are you?
Episode 1, Season 4, let's go.
Season 4 already. That's crazy. That is wild.
That's how we drew it up.
Some would say.
Fired up to be here.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful day. State fair time here in Minnesota. For those of you who are not here, probably should come visit. It's a great
Around
Around this time. Football starting. Can't make it up. Probably the best time of the year.
You think?
I think it is probably one of the favorite times of the year. Fall weather. I think the only people who probably don't like this time are probably teachers. Gotta go back to school.
Yeah.
Gotta go back to work.
Summer's over.
Yep. Sorry. But we're not teachers.
That's right. Doesn't stop for us.
Yeah.
We are talking football today.
College
football to be exact.
Yep. Week 0 is in the books.
That's right.
It's
We're
kind
on
of
to week 1.
Unique thing. And yeah, week 1, hopefully we'll have a little bit more surprises. It's a big week.
We'll find out.
So
We are starting with FCS versus FBS.
yep. So this year, FBS, FCS, there are 120 games. 121 games this year. Last year there were 117 total.
Couple more.
A couple more this year. There were 4 total upsets this year,
Well, so
or 4 total upsets last year.
what is FCS and what's FBS?
So FCS, in the simplest terms, I don't know what is it. I don't even know what it stands for, but it's basically
Football Championship Series.
maybe. But it's basically the teams that you would think about is in like the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Big Ten, U of M.
Football Championship Subdivision.
Subdivision. What's FBS? Football
Bowl Subdivision.
subdivision. So those teams are, I think they're technically a step below like the FCS teams. So the FCS teams are, like you said, all the big dogs. Usually a lot of those teams are the ones you're watching in the playoffs and stuff like that. So for this, a lot of the teams on week 0/week 1, quote unquote warm up games, is FCS teams pay these FBS teams.
A lot of them are paid.
A lot of them are paid. Actually, it said
I think
around,
some of them not.
some of them might not be paid, but it said if they do, a lot of these teams potentially get up to $5 million, which is huge for a lot of these schools.
Hundreds of thousands into the millions, depending on what team you are, how good you're supposed to be.
Kind of what ratings will probably be like and stuff like that. And then, but like you said, for a lot of these better teams in the FCS, it's just kind of like those warm-up games, quote unquote, supposed to be some of those warm-up games before you start actually getting into the season.
Playing teams in your conference, those types of things. A lot of times it'll be like they're figuring things out against maybe lesser teams that they can make a few more mistakes but still win.
Yep. Well, you think, yeah, that's the goal.
Hopefully.
Yep, the goal. And then obviously, just to kind of get, I mean, you can practice all you want, but playing a game is a lot different, and you're playing a team. So in the eyes of it, if you're an FBS school, it's kind of a win-win. You get national televised, you get money, you have the potential to upset. No one expects you to beat these teams.
If you're the FCS team.
Yeah, what'd I say?
FBS.
Oh, yes, correct. So I do think it is crazy. I think it's cool. You always see a few of these upsets every year. I mean, the Appalachian State game was one of them way back when.
Mm-hmm.
This year you had Montana State beats New Mexico. They were actually down 17.
In week 0.
Yeah, week 0. They were down 17 going into the fourth quarter, and they came back.
And won 35-31.
Yep, so it's crazy.
So last year, how many were there?
There was 117 total, and there was 4 upsets.
Okay, what about before that?
I don't know before that.
There's probably about 120-ish per year, right?
Yeah, I would say it's probably teetering around that.
In 2021, there was 12 FCS wins.
So it was pretty high.
So that can give you an idea. That's the highest since 2018. So in 2018, there were 7. 2019, 3. 2021, 12. 22 had 8 wins by FCS teams. And then 2023 had 4.
So it's gone down a little bit.
And then this year, there's already 1.
Yeah. So the most there's ever been. Wait, you said 2020?
No, I skipped 2020 because 2020
You said
was
2019.
like 2020.
What year had 11?
2021 had 12.
At 12. Okay. Yeah. So there was 16 in 2015. That was the most ever.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So then this year there's more, obviously. There's
More games,
121,
more
right?
Yeah, and there's already been one.
Some of the notable ones coming up.
Well, I think the most notable one and kind of the most exciting one is Colorado plays NDSU.
Yeah, that's the one that everyone's
talking
watching.
about. I think you have Colorado obviously very high spoken with the Sanders guys, like Deion Sanders and Shedeur Sanders, and then NDSU has been absolutely no slouch. Has won their conference /
They've gotten a reputation that they're probably the last FCS team that you want to play because of the success that they've had in the previous years. They beat Kansas State one year. They beat Iowa State, I believe.
I believe it was
another
Iowa State.
year.
They've also played the Gophers and either beat the Gophers or played them very tightly, multiple years.
Really?
Yeah, this was back in like 2001. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
Adam Weber was on the
early.
team earlier.
Okay, gotcha.
But I'm just saying, it's like you still kind of see it. They're no slouches, and they're obviously one of the top teams in their conference year over year.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it should be a good matchup. I mean, it could go one of two ways. They could get dominated, but at the same time, I mean, they're a ground and pound team. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Well, NDSU is ranked number 2
In
the FCS.
the whole division.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're number 2 in the country in the FCS. It's if you look at the FCS rankings, you don't have to because we already did. Number 1, South Dakota State. Number 2, North Dakota State. So you got South Dakota, North Dakota. Then number 3 is Montana, and number 4 is Montana State. And then number 5, we're going back to South Dakota for the University of South Dakota. So literally the top 5 teams are from South Dakota, North Dakota, and Montana.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, interesting.
I feel like, I mean, these other teams, Montana doesn't this year. They don't play an FBS team.
Mm-hmm.
However, North Dakota State plays Colorado. South Dakota State, the number 1 team in the country in FCS, they play Oklahoma State.
Yes, top 20 team right there.
Yep, that should be a good
Potential.
one. And then South Dakota, number 5, they play Wisconsin later in the year.
In the year, yeah, they start with Northern State, so they start a little easier. But yeah, I mean, the hard part is when the expectations are so high for some of these good teams. I mean, and like some of these, like you said, some of these FCS teams that come in, they have nothing to lose. They already got paid. They don't have to win.
Mm-hmm.
So they go out there, they show what they can do. You're on national television. I mean, you win, you put your name on them. I mean, some of these players could become potential draft picks.
Yeah. I tend to think that if I had to guess, and I don't know this for sure, if I had to guess, the majority of the teams from the FCS that are beating FBS teams, they probably aren't the top tier FCS teams. Because I would guess that those top tier FCS teams are also playing top tier FBS teams.
Right.
And that's just going to be more challenging.
100%. And it's going to be better. Well, I think on top of that, the reason probably is because of the rankings. You don't want a Colorado to play. Like Colorado, North Dakota State is actually intriguing. It's like if Colorado were to play, I'll just take Nicholls State. Probably not as exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Or like you look at some of these games, they're just not as exciting because they're lower on. But you take the top 5 teams who are very good and kind of powerhouses of the FCS, now you got a little bit of a competition.
Yeah.
And it's better TV and you get all that stuff. And so, yeah, it's very interesting.
If you were going to guess how many games the FCS teams would win this year, knowing they already have one, they have 120, or I guess 119 more are scheduled.
119 more?
Yeah, because there was another. There's been 2.
Yeah, they got blown out. Let's see here. Out of 119, I'm going to say, there's already one. I'm going to say 6 more. I couldn't tell you which 6. 7 stuck out to me.
Okay.
You never know what's going to happen. I mean, that's the great thing with college football. What's crazy, I think, more so than other sports is like you really don't know. I mean, all these kids are very, very good players.
Week 0, week 1 for a lot of the game. The majority of the FCS, FBS games happen at the beginning of the year.
Right.
So new teams, new rosters. You never really know what's going to happen.
100%. And the crazy thing is all these kids that are playing even in FCS or FBS, they probably all were very good in college or high school. They're not slouches where you're playing D3 versus D1. These are all very capable players.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, already one has happened. So,
okay.
We'll see. We will see.
I'm going to guess 5.
5 more or 5 total? So 4 more or 5 more?
5
total.
More.
So you're at 6, I'm at 7.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll report back next week. Well, there are still some down the road.
Yeah, we'll
report throughout the season.
At the end of the year.
Yeah. So, should be exciting.
There you go. The other big new thing that's happening this year is the college football playoff has changed.
To 12 teams. I think a lot of people
changed from 4.
Yeah, wanted to see this happen for a while.
And it's finally happened.
It's finally happening. I think it's making now. I mean, back in the day, I feel like before the college football playoff, all these different bowl games were kind of more, like the Rose Bowl was huge. They would all rotate to be the quote-unquote national championship.
Yep.
And then you became this, now you got the top 4 teams. As from last year, you have top 4 teams, and it seemed like a lot of the teams that didn't make the top 4, their whole teams would sit out.
Mm-hmm.
Or they would enter the transfer portal, or those games would just not become the same. They weren't the same intensity. They weren't the same rivalry.
There were teams that probably deserved to continue playing towards the national championship, but because the previous system was only built for 4 teams to be in the playoffs,
right?
Then they were unfortunately out. Where I mean, you get a Florida State that hasn't lost 1 game all year,
yep.
And it's like they literally could not have done any better than they did,
yep.
But yet they still don't have an opportunity to play for a national championship.
Yeah.
So at the very least, this new system will give those teams the ability to compete for the national championship.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's great too, because now it's like, okay, so you look at that Florida State game, and I don't remember who Florida State played in their bowl game, but I'm pretty sure they got smoked because half the players didn't play.
Correct.
And so it's like you said, it's like, hey, you were undefeated. Go prove that you're better than Georgia, or go prove that you're better than these teams that are also undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got to put your money where your mouth is and see what happens.
Yep.
So
it gives a little bit. I mean, the difference between football and basketball, when you're looking at just like postseason things, postseason for basketball, like you're trying to build the best resume throughout the year, right? So like it incentivizes teams to play better teams at the beginning of the year out of conference to try and give yourself more opportunities to beat better teams, right? That's how basketball works. In football, it's almost like you're incentivized to play not as good teams, because if you happen to lose 1 game up to this point, more so, but you're incentivized to play not as good teams, because if you lose 1 game that you either shouldn't, or you're not losing to a top 10 team, well, now you have a loss, and one loss might, 2 losses for sure would have gotten you out of the playoffs, and then it's like, all right, well, now we can't compete for a national championship.
Right, 100%. Well, I think
so it gives a little bit more wiggle room.
Right, 100%. And I mean, it's just even from week 0, you have a team who's already ranked in the top 10, loses, gets upset. Most of the time, like you were saying, from last year, that team would have been like, it's a long shot / you're done.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's like, okay, well, now you could go win your conference, or you could win more games, and maybe you sneak into the 7, 8, 9 team. Because there will still be a plethora of undefeated teams and 1-loss teams. I mean, you look at these schedules.
I don't think there's going to be too many undefeated teams.
Well, I think there will probably be in each conference. I think there will be at least one of the top 5 conferences or top 4 conferences. But I do think it's a lot more now, like you said, where it's like, hey, if you do lose, it's not like, okay, it's the end of the world. It's, hey, you lost. Okay, now you got to prove that you should be in this final 12. And once you get to the final 12, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, obviously the first 4 get a bye?
Correct.
First 4 get a bye, and then so, yeah, sure, they are fine, but you still got to play more than just 2 games. You might get 3 games.
There's 4.
4 games. So, yeah, you have to win more. And I think it is better. I think it's just, it takes away like I said before, it takes away the whole fact of like all these people are like, oh, well, we were undefeated and we should be in there.
Now you probably will.
Yeah, you might. Let's see.
Alrighty, so we're going to project our brackets. Before we do that, do you want to run down the changes, what it looks like, the, I guess, criteria for the bracket?
So it's the highest 5 ranked conference champions get an automatic bid.
Yep.
And then it's the 7 highest ranked teams remaining get the rest
At
of the 12
large.
at large, essentially.
Mhm.
And then what you'll get is you'll get 5 versus 12, 6 versus 11, so on, and then the first 4 get a bye.
Correct. Yep. So once teams slot in, it acts as a typical 12-team bracket.
Yep. So exciting.
Alrighty.
Good.
So run through. Well, let's start with.
You want to go top to bottom or bottom to top?
We can. I think we should do the teams that are going to get buys first.
Okay.
So top 4,
Before
and then work our way from there.
Okay.
So start with number 1.
I think number 1 is still Georgia. I will say that. I think they're the one team where it's okay. I get that all these other teams are great. You play in the hardest conference. It still seems like year after year you're still at the top.
Yep.
So I feel like until you become not at the top, then we'll take you off of that.
I also have Georgia up there at number 1.
Okay.
All right, number 2.
Number 2, this was tough. I had 2 teams up there, both in the Big Ten. So I have Ohio State at number 2.
Okay. I have Oregon.
Okay, without Oregon's my number 3.
They can't be number 3.
Oh, then I have Oregon at number 5.
Okay.
They're my 3rd best team in the country, but I'll have them at number 5. I'll
Okay.
slot this team in there.
So I have Oregon at 2. I think that let's see, let me bring their schedule, I think, will allow them to get over Ohio State, because they play Ohio State at home middle of October. Other than that, they don't really play anybody in the non-conference. They play Boise State, who's going to be one of the better group of 5 teams, but they don't play any like powerhouse non-conference teams.
Mm-hmm.
Then they go for conference. They go UCLA, Michigan State, Ohio State at home, Purdue, Illinois, at Michigan, Maryland, Wisconsin, Washington. I mean, at Michigan and home against Ohio State. If they win those 2 games, feel pretty confident in them winning the rest of the games.
Yeah. It really will come down to,
The Big Ten championship.
Big Ten
game,
championship and just seeing who makes that game. Yeah.
right? But
Because there are like 4 or 5 teams that could potentially make the Big Ten championship.
Yeah, totally. All right, number 3.
Number 3, I have Clemson.
Okay.
That's my number 3.
I'm going Oklahoma State.
Ooh. So
Yeah.
they're not going to lose the first game to South Dakota State.
No,
They are not one of the 5.
no. I think Oklahoma State has the offensive firepower. And I mean, I was looking at these schedules, and man, like they play Utah and Kansas State
Mm-hmm.
as the preseason ranked teams. Otherwise, it's like all the typical Big 12 teams.
Yeah.
They finish at Colorado,
No, that's not too bad.
but like,
I think Utah will be an interesting game.
yeah, Utah is the
Utah's
biggest
solid.
one, but it's at home.
Okay, yeah.
So I mean, I like what their schedule shakes out to be for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I have them number 3.
Number 3?
Yep.
Okay. Number 4?
Number 4, yep.
I have Notre Dame.
They can't be the top 4
Why?
because they're not in a conference.
Okay, then I'll switch them to. Who can I
So
pick here?
so most likely it will be a Big 12 team.
A Big 12 team?
Correct.
Oh god, I didn't even have none of them even on my thing. I thought Notre Dame could go in. So they're not in a conference, so they can't be 4?
They cannot be top 4 now.
Oh.
So these are your options there on the right side.
Oh.
The most likely are probably Utah. Kansas State is ranked number 18. Utah is ranked 12. Oklahoma State is ranked 17.
Yeah, I would say Utah. I have Utah at number
Arizona
12,
is
so I'll
ranked-
just slot Utah into number 4 then. So I think
Arizona's
Utah's
ranked
going to win that
21.
division. Or you win that conference.
Okay, so they'd be 4.
They'd be 4.
And then my number 4 is Miami.
Oh, over Clemson. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, decent.
Because
Cam Ward.
Clemson plays Georgia.
Yep.
That'll knock them down a bit.
Okay.
But then, I mean, they play at Florida State. Florida State is still going to be in contention, I think.
Yeah, that's going to be an exciting game.
And if you look at Miami's schedule, they play home against Florida State, and the rest of their schedule, very doable. They start with Florida, so they got to win that one. But after that,
They got who you said? Florida?
they play at Florida
I don't think
first
that'll
game
be
of the
that
year this weekend.
bad. I don't think that'll be that bad. That would be a good test for them.
It's still Florida, though.
It's still Florida. And
yeah.
You're still.
But
in the same
listen
state.
to this schedule: at Florida, Florida A&M, Ball State, South Florida, Virginia Tech, Cal, Louisville, Florida State, Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, Syracuse.
Yeah, the Florida State.
I mean,
game-
that is
the Florida State game's the one game,
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
One game.
and then the conference.
The whole
championship.
year.
Yeah,
I
the
mean-
conference championship. I mean, if it comes down to it, it's Clemson versus Miami potentially in the conference championship. most
Potentially,
likely.
yeah.
So
I
we'll
mean,
see.
if they can't make the playoffs with that schedule, then
They don't deserve it. Yeah.
something's wrong.
Seen crazier.
That's right.
So my number 5 was Oregon because I put them at 3. You can't have them at 3. I shifted them down to 5.
Okay, so let's do the matchups now.
Okay.
So 5 versus 12, the winner of this game would play the 4 seed.
Okay.
So your 5 is
With
Oregon.
and my 12 is Miami.
Unless you have a team that's not in.
Wait, what are you talking about?
So Big 10, Big 12,
Okay.
ACC.
But the 7 are just the highest ranked
SEC.
teams, right?
So you have the Big 10,
Yep, in the top 4.
the ACC,
Yep.
SEC,
Yeah.
and the Big 12.
Yeah.
So you need one other conference
To be number
in your top 12. You need one other conference.
Oh, I didn't pick another. I don't think I picked another conference. Top 5?
Yes.
Oh, let's look right now. Who's your guy?
So my 5 is Notre Dame.
Oh, so Notre Dame can be in there. You just said Notre Dame couldn't be in the top 5.
No, they can't be in the top 4.
Oh, then I had Notre Dame in the top. Also had Notre Dame in my top 5.
No. So the top 5 ranked
I'm so confused what
conference
this is.
champions.
Okay.
So it has to be a team in a conference
Yep.
that wins the conference championship.
Okay, so like the Mountain West.
Correct. The Mountain West is an option. The American is an option. The whatever the other conferences are.
Oh, so you have them playing.
So there have to be 5 conference champions in
This is
the top 12. That's what that
That's
criteria means.
It's not the best.
So-
So a team from the Mountain West.
So one of those conferences that are listed there,
Yeah.
the highest ranked champion. So in the
So it's gonna
final
be
top
West.
25, the highest ranked champion, not in one of likely the Big 10, the Big 12, the SEC, and the ACC. Those are for sure going to have a team in the top 25, right? So they're
Okay.
basically the champion is in no matter what. That's why those 4 teams
Get the bye.
pretty much will get.
So
the
if
bye.
you actually want to be the 12th seed,
well, the
because
12
you're playing the fit, you're playing the conference champion of a.
you want to be the 5 seed.
But you can't be the 5 seed if you're in one of those big conferences.
No, so there just has to be 5 conference champions in there. Most likely, what will happen is the 5th conference champion
Right. Will
Will
come out
be-
of a smaller conference.
and will be the 12 seed. They have to be in the playoff. They're not ranked number 5,
Oh, so they
or
don't.
they're not seeded number 5.
Wait, but it said I'm so confused. It says the highest 5 ranked conference champions get automatic bids.
Correct.
That doesn't mean they're 1 through 5.
Correct.
Oh, that's weird.
It means the top 4 of those 5 are 1 through 4,
Okay.
and then the 5th one
So it's gotta be
slots
on the list.
in the 5 through 12. Most likely 12, because then
Yeah,
the
I
other
read that
teams will be
completely
ranked
wrong.
better than them.
Yeah, I read that completely wrong. But I would say it's the Mountain West. And I would say probably in the Mountain West from last year, probably Boise State is my team that I'm going to pick.
Okay.
But that would be the only Mountain West. You have to have a different conference because I don't think there's any other conference that could compete
Well, it's just the highest ranked team. So
but I'm looking at these conferences.
If a team is ranked 23 and that's the highest ranked non of those other 4 conferences, then they're in.
Yeah, I don't see that. I would say the Mountain West is probably the most competitive. I would take Boise State.
Well, it's not necessarily the most competitive. If a team in a different conference wins all their games and the other teams have 1 loss, then...
No, I get that. What I'm saying is I think there will be more teams on the Mountain West that potentially can be ranked over any other conference. So I'm taking my odds saying that this conference will have the highest ranked team.
So you're going Boise State number 12.
Number 12.
Okay. I'm going Liberty.
Okay. So you're thinking they got to go undefeated.
Correct, yes. Okay. But I think they have a pretty good shot at doing so. Because they play a pretty easy schedule. They're in Conference USA. They are playing literally nobody that good.
Ooh, Appalachian State. Never want to play them.
But
I mean, the teams. That's what I'm saying. So
exactly.
But essentially, they'll get the number 12 seed. So either one of these teams will get the 12 seed.
So here's the thing about Boise State: they play Oregon.
You can lose once. If you lose to Oregon,
they play Oregon State.
That's fine. Oregon State, you got to beat somebody good to go. What does that say next to their name? A 1? So they're expecting them to win the conference. And if you lose 2 games and win the rest of your games, and your strength of schedule is that much better, let's say they beat who's the last team, Washington State, and they win the rest of their games, I think they should be ranked higher than Liberty, or a team that plays literally the Sisters of the Poor, even if they're undefeated.
Hey, I mean, if they have 2 losses and Liberty's sitting there undefeated, I don't know. I think Liberty.
It's all about strength of schedule, though. That's the hard part.
No.
1,000%.
You got to win games.
Yeah, but if you only lose twice to 2 teams that are ranked in the top 20, and Oregon State, they could beat Oregon State. Oregon, they're going to get smoked.
Right, exactly.
But if you lose 1 game and you're in a better conference with better competition, your strength of schedule is better.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we will.
All right, so
the Liberty Flames.
Yeah.
Where are they even from?
Liberty?
Yeah.
You
know where Boise State is? Idaho. Exactly. Exactly.
Liberty, Conference USA, I'm going to guess.
It's got to be East Coast, right?
Yep. It's got to be Maryland.
You think Maryland? I was going to say Pennsylvania. Liberty Flames. Virginia.
Dang,
their coach still makes $4 million. Good for him.
Good for him for sure.
Lynchburg, Virginia.
All right.
Okay.
All right, should have known that. Okay, so back to the seedings. So you had 5 was...
Well, I had Notre Dame in my top 3. They couldn't be in my top 3, so they would most likely slot to 5.
Notre Dame?
But I'm going to slot them at 7. I like this a lot. I would say Tennessee's going to be my number 5 in the SEC. Well, I changed them to there. This is Oregon.
Okay.
So I'm going to change this. This is... who did I say at 3? I said somebody at 3.
You said Clemson.
Yeah, so I just bumped Clemson up, and then my 4
Clemson at 3 and 4 was Utah.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So number 5 was
Tennessee.
So Tennessee is playing Boise State.
Yeah.
To then play. Play Utah.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
And mine is I have Notre Dame playing Liberty to then play Miami. Okay, so number 6, who you got?
I have number 6, I have Texas.
Okay.
And number 11, I have Miami.
Okay. I have Alabama at 6, playing Utah.
So this whole thing got fucked up because I have to put Oregon in there somewhere.
You want to change it now?
No, I'm saying Oregon will be 7. I like that.
Okay. All right.
What did you have?
So I have Alabama at 6.
Mm-hmm.
Playing Utah at 11.
I have a hot take. I don't think Alabama's making the 12. Okay. It's my hottest take of the century. No Nick Saban, new coach, and your schedule is very difficult.
I don't have Texas, so.
Yeah, that's fair. Those are 2 teams that very easily could not be in.
I think one of them will be in, one of them will be not.
Right, so it's a hot take, but it's also like...
And you picked Texas, and I picked Alabama. Yeah. That's great.
Sean Morris.
We're on the opposite sides of
history.
The fence.
This might be the first time that Alabama or Texas... I mean, could you imagine if both of them don't?
If both of them don't, that'd be wild.
Frick, we probably got Liberty and Boise State in there.
I don't think that's possible. I think everybody knows that if you're not in one of the top 4 conferences, you have one slot to be in.
Yeah, you got to go either undefeated or lose one game and then win out.
Correct.
Yeah.
But literally, however many teams there are not in those top 4 conferences, you're all playing for one spot.
Yep. Matt?
Okay.
That's what you get.
Alrighty, so Alabama versus Utah to play Oklahoma State for me. The thing is, I think that lines up really nicely for Alabama to play Oklahoma State. I mean, that is a great draw.
Well, I think the thing is about it is if you're playing, Alabama will always have the potential to literally just win. I mean, they have the most talent. They have probably one of the most talented quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
They'll find some other guys here and there. I just think with the new coach, it just depends on the style they're going to play. Michael Penix Jr. threw the ball all the time. I don't think Jaden Milroe is that guy that can throw that often.
No, but he can run a lot.
That's what I'm saying. He can run.
So so you had Texas to play Miami.
Yeah.
And
I
the
had
winner
Texas
of
to
that
play
plays
Clemson.
Who's number 3? Oh, Clemson. Yep.
Clemson.
Okay. Number 7.
I have
7
Oregon.
to 10.
Oregon versus Missouri. Brady
Interesting.
Cook,
You think
Missouri
Missouri
boys. I do think they're going to do it. Experience matters. I think Missouri's a decent team.
I think they also have a pretty challenging schedule, don't they?
Yeah, but you got one of probably arguably top 10 quarterbacks in college football.
And wide receiver, don't they?
They have a very good wide receiver.
What's his name?
Coach. I have no idea, but I like their coach.
Luther Burden?
Is he still on their team?
I think so.
I thought he went to the NFL. But no, I like him. I think Missouri's a solid team. Preseason ranked what? Top 10? Maybe?
11.
No.
They
Their
play-
kicker, if he's still there, their kicker is a dynamic human being. Thick guy.
They play Texas A&M.
Okay.
At Texas A&M,
Yep.
beginning of October. At Alabama, end of October. Home against Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Is that it?
Home against Arkansas.
No, I think they'll only lose to Alabama.
Okay.
To be honest, I think Oklahoma's kind of, they lost their quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, to Oregon. So I think now, I truly think
Oklahoma's still ranked number 16.
I know, I think it's their name, though. Last year they were like 500, weren't they?
I don't know.
With that new coach, the Clemson defensive coordinator.
My 7 is Ohio State.
Wow. Okay.
Just because I think that Notre Dame gets the 5 spot and then Alabama loses to Georgia in the SEC championship, which would put them at 6. And then Ohio State is at 7 because they lost to Oregon in the Big Ten championship.
Yeah.
They're playing Clemson
Whoa, that would be a good game.
because Clemson loses to Georgia this first week, loses the ACC championship to Miami. Those are their only 2 losses, and then
They still get in.
they get in at the 10 spot.
Okay.
Yep.
And then they would have to play Oregon.
Those 2 would play Oregon.
Also, you could have a Big Ten matchup. Ohio State, Oregon again.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't love that, but I think that's just how the bracket
It's
shakes
bound to
out.
happen when you have
Yeah.
a ton of. I mean, I would play
I think
Oregon versus Missouri versus Ohio State, so it'd be the same thing.
I would guess that, and I think this is the case. I'm not for sure, but I would guess that they when they're slotting teams in, especially in this 7 to 11 range, they'll do their absolute best to not match up teams in the same conference.
Correct. I would assume they've all. I feel like
Yeah.
they've done that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why.
Well, that's the difference. Because if you're in the top 4, you're getting that first round bye,
And-
whatever.
and you never know who's gonna win.
Right, and so it's like if a Big Ten team is in the 7 or the 10, they're probably not going to put a Big Ten team in the number 2 because that's who you play if you win. Like
Yeah,
ours
maybe.
said. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe.
So yeah, I get that. I mean, they might have to though if there's 3 or 4 Big Ten teams. I mean,
Right.
you just can't avoid it. Or SEC teams or
Yeah.
whatever.
Which honestly, I'm expecting.
Of course, they're
So?
I mean, they should. They have most.
8-9. Who you
8-9.
got?
I have Ole Miss versus Penn State.
That's who I got too.
I have Ole Miss winning that game.
Oh, yeah.
I think Ole Miss will be very good this year.
Yeah. They're
Jackson Dart's very fun to watch.
There's
They're
just
high-
so many SEC teams.
Yeah, but the hardest part always with Ole Miss, and it's not a bad thing because they're fun to watch, but they kill themselves because they go for it on 4th down all the time. They play that game where they're just trying to score 500 points. It's like at some point you're not going to outscore the best teams.
Yeah, but I think they're set up for success this year.
Yeah, I think they probably have a decently hard schedule in that SEC. I mean, they probably got to play Alabama at least once.
I think it's hard, but not like overly hard.
So I have 3. So none of us had Michigan.
No.
Wow.
You can only have so many Big Ten teams.
They're top 6. Ole Miss. They play at LSU. That'll be a decent game. They play home against Georgia. Home against Oklahoma. That's really it. So they really don't have a hard schedule.
No.
But I mean, I do like Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is solid. It just will be very interesting. I mean, the biggest game. But here's the thing: is the biggest game will be Georgia. Even if you lose to Georgia and you only have 1 loss, you're slotting into one of these spots. 5 through 11 or 5 through 12, technically.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about them. Hopefully, Lane gets the boys rolling. Just can't slip up. Can't slip up. You probably can only realistically have 1 loss, unless you're one of those smaller teams that, well,
if you play a good team at the beginning of the year and lose, and then do very well in your conference, and get to the conference championship, and if you lose to a team that is like also very good, then you could potentially have 2 losses, but after 2 you're done.
So here's a question: if you're Florida State, let's say you run the table, you do not win the ACC championship though.
Mm-hmm.
You lose to either whoever I said and you said, a Clemson or Miami, whatever. Or did you say Miami?
I said Miami.
Yeah, Miami. So you lose to one of those teams, so you technically have 2 losses. Do you think there's a chance they play at Notre Dame?
Yeah,
at Miami,
if they run the
Clemson,
table in the regular season and lose in the ACC championship, for sure they're in.
for sure in the top 12?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes.
So you got to win out.
I don't think that's crazy.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if they can run the table. But if they lose one more time, they're definitely done. Before the ACC championship.
Well, it'll make a chance. I mean, if they win the ACC championship, then they're in.
Well, automatically. But I'm saying, but if you lose twice, you might not even make it to the ACC championship.
That's the issue. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
All right.
There's
cool.
18 teams in the ACC now.
That's right. Well, there you have it, folks.
Check back in. We'll see week to week.
Yep.
Week to week. Keep you updated. Week 1 is around the corner.
You got any other final thoughts?
I do not.
Happy to be back with you guys.
Yeah,
Season
happy
4.
to be here.
Locked and loaded, ready to rock.
Check out the socials on TikTok. Sip and Sports.
I think it's Sip and Sports Pod.
Maybe it has a pod ad, but if you type in Sip and Sports, you'll see our logo.
Yep.
So there you go. Keep an eye.
All right,
Hook it up.
Peace out.
See ya.